Good morning. Hope everyone's having a good start to the week. I want to talk today quickly about hedge funds. Trying to keep it in the fund arena this week. You probably heard the term hedge funds. And what the hell is that? I talked earlier in the week about mutual funds and ETFs or exchange traded funds. All of these funds are essentially just big pools of money that are invested in a certain way, shape, or form in a certain asset class or group of assets. So whereas mutual funds and ETFs, those funds are almost always invested in public markets. So it's usually a mix of stocks and bonds. And they're almost always on the long side exclusively, where they just buy the stock and they want it, or bond, and they want it to go up in value. Hedge funds, on the other hand, they can invest in almost anything. They can invest in real estate, land, derivatives, commodities, currencies, private enterprise, whatever it may be. Hedge fund it's kind of fair game. So, and they can also go on the short side. They can, bet against stocks. They can and they often do use leverage, the act of borrowing money to invest and hopefully maximizing your returns, but also increasing your risk. So because of all these, the multitude of tools and asset classes at their disposal, they are much less transparent than mutual funds and ETFs. And also, in concert with that, they are much less regulated than mutual funds and ETFs. So a lot of times when you hear hedge funds being mentioned, it's almost with a negative connotation because people don't like the fact that there's that lack of transparency and regulation. So like mutual funds, and a hedge fund, I mentioned mutual funds. When you invest in a mutual fund, you're really taking a bet on a manager. Even if the mutual fund is under the umbrella of Fidelity or TD Ameritrade Mutual Fund, that fund itself is actually managed by a person or a small team of people that decide where those assets go and what they get invested in and how they get weighted and all those different things. Same exact thing with a hedge fund. You're investing in a manager, a hedge fund manager. And because of the fact that they have so many more tools at their disposal, these guys are often considered to be the top of the mountain as far as money managers go, the best of the best. I've mentioned Ray Dalio before. He is the greatest hedge fund manager of all time. But like I said, traditionally speaking, hedge fund managers have been thought to be the best of the best when it comes to managing money. So again, going back to some of the kind of the differences of between all of these different types of funds, you can kind of sometimes stratify these things socioeconomically speaking. So hedge funds, while you may hear of them, they often come with huge fees and huge minimums to invest. Not anyone can just go and invest in a hedge fund. So if you want to, like I say, stratify this socioeconomically, hedge funds are really for the rich people. You can't just call up Ray Dalio and say, hey, I want to invest with you. You got to have a big bank account for him to even consider talking to you. And then if you take one step down, mutual funds, they're kind of for middle class because, they come with a lot higher fees too. Some of them are a little bit more exclusive where, you need to have a little bit larger minimum in order to invest. And again, the managers can be coveted for mutual funds as well. ETFs, kind of the bottom rung of the ladder. They're for anybody, with $10 can go invest in an ETF. A lot of them are low priced, and they follow the most basic indexes out there. So, that's kind of some of the differences. Hedge funds, they get a lot of flack, and they haven't really been performing well recently. I'll leave you with a question here. There's a famous bet about 10 years ago, Warren Buffett. He bet 5 hedge fund managers. Remember, these guys are considered to be the best of the best. He bet 5 huge hedge fund managers that over a 10-year period, they could not beat the S&P 500 index fund, one of the most basic funds, ETFs out there, that none of the 5 hedge fund managers he bet could beat it. How many do you think actually won that bet?